So the Supreme Court is hearing a really, really important case when it comes to the internet. And I don't think it's hyperbolic to say that the decision they make in this case could effectively destroy the internet as we know it. And we would look back on, these days of the internet as like, oh, back when it was more free and more open and it was better, frankly. So in The Hill, they have this article here. Supreme Court hears key case on big tech internet liability. The Supreme Court is holding an oral argument that could reshape the scope of legal liability for big tech companies. Gonzalez versus Google was filed by the family of Nohemi Gonzalez, an American woman who was killed in the 2015 ISIS attack in Paris, France. The family is arguing that Google, which owns YouTube, aided ISIS by allowing recruitment videos and pushing that content to users through its algorithms, in turn inciting violence. The issue at hand is Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act of 1996, which protects companies from civil lawsuits arising from the content of their platforms. The case questions whether the immunity granted by Section 230 disappears if a platform pushes or proliferates problematic content. The hearing is scheduled to begin at 10 a.m. Okay, so in order to comment on this, I want to give you a little bit more backstory as to exactly what Section 230 is. So this is in the Wikipedia page about it. They say Section 230 is a section of Title 47 of the United States Code that was enacted as part of the Communications Decency Act of 1996, which is Title 5 of the Telecommunications Act of 1996, and generally provides immunity for website platforms with respect to third-party content. I'll explain all this in layman's terms in a second. At its core, Section 230 provides immunity from liability for providers and users of an interactive computer service who publish information provided by third-party users. So they go on to say here in the highlighted portion, Section 230 protections are not limitless and require providers to remove material illegal on a federal level, such as in copyright infringement cases. In 2018, Section 230 was amended by the Stop Enabling Sex Traffickers Act to require the removal of material violating federal and state sex trafficking laws. In the following years, protections from Section 230 have come under more scrutiny on issues related to hate speech and ideological biases in relation to the power that technology companies can hold on political discussions, and became a major issue during the 2020 United States presidential election. Passed when internet use was just starting to expand in both breadth of services and range of consumers in the United States, Section 230 has frequently been referred to as a key law which allowed the internet to develop. Okay, so now let me explain what all this means. So we'll use YouTube as the example here, but you could really use almost any of the big social media companies. So the way this works is YouTube sets up their site. YouTube. Anybody can post videos from, around the world. You can make your own account. You can, make it big. The overwhelming majority of YouTubers never really get off the ground, and, like less than 100 people watch a video or whatever. But the whole idea is, hey, we're this like video medium platform. We're like the equivalent of a bathroom wall. So, how bathroom walls you go and you just write on it, right? It's like you could publish whatever here. And, the whole idea is, are they legally responsible and liable if somebody uses their platform and commits a crime? Or maybe not even commits a crime, does something very bad? Is YouTube legally responsible? So a good way to think about this is compare it with a telephone company, for example. So if you have, let's just say Verizon. You have Verizon, you got some mafia don who calls up their gangster hitman, and they say, hey, I need you to take this guy out for me, and then that person goes and commits a crime. Can the family of that guy who was murked by the mafia, do they turn around and sue Verizon for saying, hey, man, you guys let this violence proliferate because you didn't do anything to stop it? And of course, the argument from Verizon is basically like, we just don't have a role or a say. We're simply a medium. We're a telephone provider. We don't get to pick and choose who uses our service, if it's a good person, a bad person, a criminal, and a saint. We have no control over that whatsoever. We're just a medium. We don't even know what's going on when people are using our services. It could be somebody calling to talk to their grandma who has cancer, or it could be somebody calling in a hit. We just don't know. It's not on us. So the real person you have a legal issue with is the hitman who did the hit and the mafia don who ordered the hit. So when it comes to YouTube, it's a similar argument with Section 230. Their argument is like, look, there's third-party content that's being published. So if a crime is committed, then that's on that third party that committed the crime. It's not on YouTube. They're just the medium. And so that's what Section 230 allows for. Now, again, it's not absolute. Apparently, if you have people committing crimes, namely federal crimes, and obviously there was some tweak relatively recently with the law where anything involving like child sex trafficking or sex trafficking in general, if stuff like that comes on the platform, YouTube is legally liable and responsible to sort of get that stuff off of there. And so I guess they have, a team, a group of people or whatever who monitor that stuff on a regular basis. I'm sure they have algorithms helping them. And then whenever they come across something that's concerning on that front, then they take action, right? But outside of just a few little things that are egregious or illegal, the idea originally of YouTube was, we're just the medium, we're just the bathroom wall. If you have an issue, take it up with whoever the creator is who published the thing. That's a problem. So to get rid of Section 230 would be to hold YouTube legally liable for things that YouTubers do on the platform, even if they have no connection whatsoever to like management at YouTube. And look, I have to say, man, it's weird because the right often goes after Section 230, but I think they really have a fundamental misunderstanding of what would happen if you get rid of Section 230. Because what I think would happen is, if you act Section 230, then what you're saying is YouTube is responsible for everything that's on its platform. So what are they going to do? Are they going to limit content moderation and go more towards an open platform? Or are they going to do the opposite and try to protect their asses and the bottom line and basically axe anybody who's even mildly an issue, who might somehow create an issue? And that's what I think they would do. I think they'd crack down. If you think YouTube moderation right now is bad, whatever the censorship and the deplatforming and the algorithm tweaking, if you think all that's bad right now, it would get way, way worse, I think, if you get rid of Section 230. Because then it's like, geez, you're not just saying illegal content YouTube has to keep an eye out for. You're saying also problematic content. You're saying, politically extreme content. Well, extreme as defined by who? The U.S. establishment? The same people who got us in the Iraq War and opened up Guantanamo Bay and did, extrajudicial torture and no due process. Like, look, you guys know my whole spiel on this, but who's going to watch the Watchmen? Who's going to fact check the fact checkers? You can't have this group of overlords who determine what's within the realm of acceptable discourse. But effectively, you would be taking the current moderation system they have on YouTube and putting it on steroids. If the court rules against the big tech companies here, rules against YouTube here. Look, this isn't to say I don't feel for the victims, right? The people, the family of the person who was killed in an ISIS attack. Because they looked and they saw the ISIS recruitment videos on YouTube and they thought, this is recruiting people, this is bad, we need to stop this, YouTube needs to be held liable. When in reality, obviously the people who were doing the ISIS recruitment videos are responsible, but these people probably have no legal recourse against them because they're somewhere hidden in Syria or some shit, right? And so they feel like, I want to get something done here, let me go after YouTube. But if they win this case, YouTube is going to do everything it can to protect itself, and they're going to do more content moderation, more censorship, more deplatforming. They're going to tweak the algorithms even more to provide safe content to people, and it would be, honestly, terrible. And so, I don't trust this group of old fogies on the Supreme Court to, figure all this out. And I don't expect them to understand the ramifications and the long-term consequences of siding against the tech companies on this. I don't expect them to get it. But this is a very quick and easy way to get rid of any and all platforms that are sort of more free speech oriented. Get rid of all platforms that are sort of mediums that allow people to express themselves. Because if they side against the tech companies, all of these companies are going to crack down more and going to moderate more, and they're going to be more like openly editorial type websites. They're going to be treated like publishers. It's going to be treated like, if something's printed in the New York Times is responsible for it. They would say the same thing with YouTube. If something's said on YouTube, YouTube is responsible for it. Even if the creator, nobody at YouTube has ever even had a conversation with them, they don't know them, they can't swear by their material, whatever. And so I think the honest assessment here is that you have to grapple with the fact that these are different things. Like the New York Times is something different from YouTube. And New York Times is different from Twitter. And I don't trust these Supreme Court people who don't know anything about technology, don't know anything about the internet, to really adjudicate this properly. And so, look, I hope that they do the right thing here, but I don't know if they will. And again, the funny thing to me is, final point, I'm just reiterating a point I made before, but the right is cheering for Section 230 to get slapped down. And for the life of me, I find that, I can't understand that. I find it so bizarre, because they're definitely going to be on the chopping block, too, if you get rid of Section 230. They're not going to want, the Steven Crowders out there, or whoever, people that are more fringe voices. They're going to want to protect themselves, because say, hey, Steven Crowder, remember that whole fiasco with Carlos Maza, where he would, was basically using terminology to call him a slur for being gay, and YouTube caught on to that and tried to crack down on it. Now, imagine a situation like that with no Section 230 protections. They would act even quicker to say, hey, man, we don't stand by what you say on your show, and we're responsible now for what you say on your show, so to protect our ass legally from getting sued, you're gone. Like, right now, they allow him to post, but he's demonetized. They wouldn't even allow him to post in a situation like that. Now, again, it's not just the right that this would crack down on. Anybody who's like an outsider in any way, shape, or form. Anything that's not milquetoast, vanilla, uncontroversial by the current societal norms, they would all be, we would probably be axed in that scenario, or, we would probably be that, or like deranked even more in the algorithm. So I just wanted to educate you guys a little bit on what's happening with Section 230, because as much crap as it gets, any alternative would be way worse. Now, a good criticism, though, is they already do a lot of content moderation now, right? So one thing the Supreme Court might say is, okay, you guys say you're supposed to be a medium and you're not legally liable for what the users of your platform say or do. I mean, if that's the case, why are you already doing so much content moderation when it comes to politically extreme views or hate speech or whatever? If you really were, the medium, then you wouldn't even do as much as you're doing now. So we just want to define you more accurately, because you're already doing this moderation, so we're going to get rid of the Section 230 protections. But again, it would get worse if they do it. They would do it even more if they got rid of that. But that's something I fear too, is that the court might accurately point out they're already not acting too much like a medium. They're already putting their thumb on the scale a lot. So it's just more accurate for us to describe you as not this medium anymore. So this can go a number of ways. A lot of them are not good. And it really could have, and I'm just talking about YouTube in the context of this discussion, but you could talk Twitter, Facebook, any of the big tech companies really, and this would change the nature of the internet as we know it in a terrifying way. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take $0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.